Log hauling in the interior of British Columbia involves some fairly high volume activity. An operation with 2 feller bunchers on the go can have up to 5 skidders, 3 log processors, and anywhere from 2 to 4 button tops loading out. Depending on the distance to the mill and volume of wood, there can be 7 to 12 trucks doing 2 to 3 trips a day, putting out a total of between 25 to 35 loads, sometimes 6 days a week. And that's just one operation. If there are 10 operations in an area, there can be over 100 trucks using the same stretch of road in some parts. A day for the average log truck driver can be anywhere between 12 to 15 hours, and that may be before any servicing. Long as there's wood, the haul goes steady. Before spring and fall breakups, when the roads turn muddy, we work night shift, hauling while the cold night air keeps the roads firm. Hopefully you don't have any major breakdowns during hauling, and you can get repairs done during the weekend or at breakup. With all the hours, seasonal work, and shift work in the trucking business, all of us have to pay attention to safety. You have to stay alert. To make a living, you've got to keep yourself and your truck in one piece. No accidents, no maintenance problems left unsolved. Running a logging truck involves a fairly comprehensive knowledge of WCB occupational health and safety regulations and motor vehicle, commercial transport, motor carrier, and highway acts and regulations. It's also necessary to understand and sign off on permit and contract requirements. Trucking is a business for most of us, and truck drivers are responsible for much of the paperwork. Every day, an operator does a detailed inspection of his truck and rigging. This is done when everything is visible, which could be at the beginning, during, or end of a shift, depending on the season. The driver knows the condition of the truck best and is tuned into whatever might be acting up. A driver's life depends on the good running condition of the rolling stock. So we listen and watch closely. There's a lot to check out on a truck. It's routine. Lights, flashers, bunks, stake cables, stakes, tail lights, trailer lights, wheel nuts, tires, air system, wrappers, and steering. Repair items are noted and they get fixed pronto, for safety and also for the pocketbook. When you go by a government scale, they check your truck out. A burnt-out taillight or other infractions can be a costly fine. All trucks are equipped with roadside flares, first aid equipment, load flags and lights, fire extinguisher, shovel, axe, and during the winter season, tire chains. The truck compartment is clean. No loose objects such as toolboxes, wrenches, jacks, that sort of thing. A place for everything, and everything in its place. Trucks are fueled and serviced in designated areas. We're environmentally friendly. Keep things clean and clean up any spills. When you're traveling empty, you always give way to loaded trucks and crew transports. Both empty and loaded trucks slow up when passing stopped vehicles and maintenance equipment. All vehicles operate with the headlights on, day or night. No riders, unless they're authorized or it's an emergency. Every operation has its own traffic system, which can be quite different from what you may be used to. It's a good idea to get familiar with haul routes beforehand. Radio use is to calls of road locations, emergency messages, and important communications relating to operations. By the time a trucker reaches the block, the loading agenda is pretty much figured out. The driver and loader operator communicate using the radio. A good look around and a clear backup signal warning ensures workers and equipment are in the clear. Personal protective equipment is essential. A high visibility hard hat, high vis vest, and non-slip boots must be worn off the truck. Steps and any working platform on the truck must be equipped with slip-resistant surfaces. Three-point contact helps avoid slips and falls, one of the biggest causes of injury in the forest industry. The trailer reach is securely fastened to the tractor, and the safety chains are always hooked up. The brake lines are attached and the electrical connections are made. The driver checks the trailer for any defects while the bunks are positioned and the stakes are extended. The driver usually watches the loading from inside the cab or on occasion from a safe location outside the truck in clear view of the loader operator. No one is allowed to stand on or next to the cab when the truck is being loaded. Often, during the loading of the truck, the log delivery ticket or load slip is completed by the driver. The first tier of logs is laid tight to keep the stakes at a safe angle and minimize slack in the stake cables. The logs are placed to avoid excessive strain on the binder units, bunk stake lines, and stakes. The bottom tier and the side rows of the log load must extend beyond the front and rear bunks and stakes at least 12 inches on trucks with compensating reach-type trailers, or at least 6 inches on other types of trailers. To ensure a stable load, do not place any log next to the stakes that will extend above the stakes by half of its diameter. Each successive log should lay within the logs of the previous layer and not exceed the allowable height. Log lengths not contained by stakes at both ends can't be loaded above the stakes unless they're in a secure lay and don't have excessive crook, sweep, or deformity. No log can exceed the maximum permitted length. Highway load configuration is dictated by the motor vehicle branch. Exceptions can be permitted. Off-highway load configuration is governed by the Ministry of Forests. At the beginning of each forestry road, there will be posted the allowable lengths and heights. In both cases, the driver should ensure what is acceptable and that they are legal. The axle weights are monitored to ensure the load is properly balanced. Drivers let the loader know if they see a problem. Otherwise, it becomes their problem. When you keep in touch, the little things don't get out of hand. Before putting the wrappers on, a check is done to ensure there are no small log pieces which may dislodge or stems protruding from the load. The loader positions to restrain the load while the wrappers are put on. 2 wrappers are placed on the load, positioned so that they can be removed safely later, while the load restraining equipment is in position. A loaded truck may be moved within the loading area without binders required, provided no workers are in danger. The timber mark should be put on all 4 corners of the load before leaving the cut block. A final walk-around is done to make sure everything is okay. Then the truck leaves, safely loaded, cinched, and marked. Once the load settles, the driver pulls over to perform another visual check and tighten the binders alternately before proceeding onto the mill. Loaded trucks never pass other moving industrial vehicles unless they get a signal from the other vehicle operator. Extreme caution is used with oncoming traffic. A safe distance is kept behind crew transportation vehicles. considering road and grade conditions and visibility. Drivers temper the maximum allowable speed posted with regard to unsafe road conditions and weather conditions such as snow, ice, speed, mud, dust, and general visibility. Conditions can change fast. You have to drive accordingly. Speed can be deadly. Before getting onto the highway, another walk around is done. Sometimes a problem with a load is better handled with assistance. That's just a radio call away. Know your load sweep. It represents a hazard to oncoming and following traffic, so you have to watch your turns. Mills can have different unloading policies and procedures. Drivers should ensure they have received mill log yard procedures prior to delivering there. Speed limits are always observed, and loaders have the right of way in the log yard. Yard strapping is sometimes put on so they can stack loads better in the yard. However, this is not a substitute for wrappers, which cannot be removed until the load is restrained. Personal protective equipment is a must in the yard. The trucker stays in full view of the loader operator until the load is restrained. Then, and only then, are the binders removed. Once the wrappers are removed, the driver moves to the front of the truck in clear view of the loader operator. The load is then removed. Empty logging truck trailers are loaded securely onto tractors. The driver uses the pike pole if the trailer needs to be lined up. A look around before heading back out ensures that everything is looking good and there are no problems. And really, that's what safe driving is all about, avoiding problems. Professional truck drivers operate safely by performing daily truck inspections, wearing personal protective equipment, using safe loading procedures, safe driving procedures, and safe log yard procedures. Be a pro, work safe, and keep on trucking.